The main reason why I don't want to be married anymore is because the way that I've been able to make my 17-year marriage work all of these years is by compromising myself. Compromising what I think, compromising about what I value, compromise what I want, compromise the type of relationship that I want to have. Everything has been a compromise, but the compromise has been on my part, me adjusting, changing, doing things differently to please my partner to make the family as a whole work. And I just know that it's just not the right thing to do anymore. But on the other hand, it's really scary thinking that I'm going to be 52 years old out there living by myself with my kids, trying to make it in this economy. I don't have an education. I never went to school. I didn't have a career or anything like that. There was no plan B. This was always the plan. Be married, stay married, raise a family, and just stay together and make it work to the end. I'm taking a huge risk, and sometimes I question whether it's the right thing to do. But I know the reason why I'm questioning is because I'm so used to compromising myself. I'm so used to putting myself last. I'm so used to just making myself disappear so I can be in these roles, wife, mother, whatever, and somehow hopefully make other people happy, and that'll be my life. But that's not the right way to live. I want to find a different way of living. And I have a lot of regret that I've waited so long and I'm doing it now at 52. I don't have youth. I don't have, all of the optimism. I don't have years and years in front of me. I don't really even have the time to kind of wait on it or waste. I don't have a ton of time. If I don't do it now, when will I ever do it? When will I ever be comfortable in my own skin? When will I ever feel proud and happy and like myself? When will I ever be in a situation like that again? Unless I go out there and try to take it for myself. It's pretty scary, but I have a feeling that it's going to be worth it. I think it's going to be worth it.
There are entirely too many stories floating around that sound exactly like this. And unfortunately, it's this story and loads of others that are the reason for why women are changing the way that they move. Now, I'm not here to say whether or not it's a good or bad thing, but I can say that I do understand it. And what I will say is this: the biggest issue with this situation right here is adopting the societal standard. And it's become a part of the fabric of society that women are more praised for their ability to pour into the people around them, and it's perfectly fine if she lacks the ability to pour into herself. And in today's society, the women who claim to be independent and boss chick and I can do this or that for myself are the women that are slowly learning how to do for self, and they're beating their chest with a lot of pride, and those women are being categorized as masculine or contentious or just difficult to work with. And I'm not here to say if that is right or wrong, but I do know this: the perspective that led to this woman being 17 years married and compromising herself so far that she gave herself away. This is coming from a society that has taught her that that's the expectation. And because it was the expectation, a lot of women move like this in relationship. They put themselves last. And the idea is keep everyone happy. And it may seem as though it gets you what you need along the way. And for some women, it does work and they're able to make it last. But for a lot of women, they're unable to keep going and they run out of gas because they lacked identity. They lacked self awareness and the journey that helped them figure out essentially who they are. When it comes to this perspective in society, women are encouraged to look and pursue a man who's attractive and successful without actually diving into his character value and how it complements her own. You see, in this situation, a lot of women will end up having the conversation, I had a relationship like that and I'm tired of compromising myself and so on and so forth. But they'll never have the conversation around what it looks like to not know yourself so much that you ended up in a relationship with someone that you don't share perspectives with, that doesn't complement your existence, that you don't share the end game with. And those things are vital when it comes to building longevity. It's not about your ability to compromise yourself. Granted, in relationships, there will be compromises. But if you have adopted the logic that you don't deserve to get things that you want out of the relationship, see your vision achieved in the relationship, and you feel that you're obligated or it's your responsibility to not add those things to the equation or hold that conversation with your partner and just suffer in silence, something is really wrong with what you thought a relationship was. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's her fault because it couldn't possibly, because unfortunately, this is the perspective that women are fighting against today, is that a lot of women have this perspective that this is the perspective of the quote unquote traditional marriage. And because women feel like that's what it means to be in a traditional marriage, they're going in the opposite direction. They're rebelling against the idea because the modern woman's perspective is, this is what my life is going to look like, this woman right here, if I adopt traditional views. Is I will be compromising myself. I won't do what makes me happy. I will lose myself. I will always put myself last. And everyone will be happy at the expense of me. And then I'm supposed to just get comfortable with wearing the happiness cap. And women are saying, no, thank you. Women are saying, I'd rather have a degree. Women are saying, I'd rather be a single parent. Women are saying, I'd rather be single altogether. Women are saying, I'd rather just never get married or never have children, because this is the expectation of modern today, is that life will look like this. And this is not about being the victim. This is more about understanding who you are as a person and understanding what it means to choose a partner. Because if you're trying to find a high value man, if you're telling yourself that you need X amount of dollars to settle down and be happy, you need to travel, you need this size house. Those things are materialistic things that have no bearing on the longevity of your relationship. What really holds the longevity of your relationship is you and your person being attracted to each other, you and your person being on the same page, you being able to be unapologetically yourself and not smothering that person so the person you're in relationship with can find happiness. It looks like allowing them to shine while they allow you to shine. It's about being interdependent. And we unfortunately have characterized a healthy relationship coming from a societal view as very dependent and codependent, which robs one person in the relationship of their autonomy. And that's where a lot of this energy from women is coming from, is that it's starting to become clear and understood that that's what that would do in the long run. So what I hope to do with this video is encourage a conversation between men and women to develop a little bit more understanding. I would like men to understand that this is the conversation that women are hearing about in women's circles when they talk about relationships and marriage. They talk about the sacrifices, they talk about the compromises, they talk about what they lost. And women are very vocal, and we tend to fellowship with each other and talk to each other. And so more and more women are hearing that this is what you're in for. And you see women gradually, by the numbers, are changing the way they approach relationships, because this is not the outcome that they would like. This is not what forever looks like, or they would want it to look like. So as a man, you have to ask yourself, if you're looking for a traditional relationship, if you're looking for, let's say, submission, if you're looking for a specific type of environment within the home, does that strip her of her autonomy? Does that push her to believe she has to compromise in order to be a good mother or a good wife? Are you truly loving her as she exists in order to build a harmonic home? As the leader, are you choosing someone that you can genuinely build with, or are you choosing someone that you have to change, that you have to develop, that you have to cultivate? And are you cultivating them in the direction that they would like to go because it's in alignment with their own identity? Or are you cultivating them in a direction that they have no desire to go? Because that's what creates this dynamic in relationships. And this also contributes to divorce. This contributes to the reaction in how the divorce goes. This contributes to negotiations with children. And I'm not saying that it's a man's fault, but we have to be clear on what we're actually asking for when it comes to these romantic commitments. Are we expecting the autonomy to be sacrificed by the female counterpart, and what that would look like? And ask yourself if you could sacrifice the same. The light of wanting to make her happy, could you make those kind of sacrifices? And ask, can you nurture her hobbies and nurture her goals and really have a genuine conversation about who she desires to be? Because again, this conversation amongst women is occurring all over. And I'm thankful that, I knew who I was before I even got out of, high school. But it's my understanding that even though I heard this story even when I was in high school, listening to older women talk about their marriages, it was discouraging. It was depleting. And if I wasn't a positive person who was optimistic about my future, I probably would have gone in a different direction as far as pursuing marriage, and I couldn't wait to have children. You see what I'm saying? But to a person who has been cultivated to want that and been told that you don't have value unless you get married, you don't have value unless you have children, that is her identity. She has never learned who she is. She has never learned how to cultivate herself. That's why you hear so many women say, I lost myself. Most of these women never lost themselves. They never found themselves to begin with. And when you get married and you have children, it's really hard to establish an identity with all of that responsibility. So unfortunately, you believe you lost yourself, when in reality, that person was not established. She's on this video saying, I don't have a career, I don't have an education. How can you know who you are without those experiences? You see what I'm saying? A lot of these people, a lot of these women have become part of a commitment long before they had an identity to start with. And then there's somewhere that it shifts and you realize, I don't know who I am. And unfortunately, when you hit that shock and awe and that deer in the headlights moment, you want to put that responsibility on your partner because he typically knows exactly who he is and where he's going and the success. And so you follow that lead. You see what I'm saying? Because this is somebody who does know. So of course I'm going to follow. You see what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that if you truly understand that this is my identity and I adopt this identity beyond the shadow of a doubt. But if you're moving like this because you were taught to, as you accumulate knowledge, as you learn and have experiences in the world, who you are will start to rise to the surface, and it will start to part you from your experience, because now you're saying, well, that's not really what I think. Well, I don't really like that. That's not really what I want. And to a woman that's having that experience, she thinks she's losing herself, when in reality, she's breaking away from a teaching that's had a hold of her since she was a little girl. And women that are growing up in more modern day times can see that coming a mile away. So when you hear these stories, you understand what that is. And so I am pro traditional relationships, but I also believe that a woman should know exactly who she is and sign up for a traditional relationship, because that's part of her identity. But if you let someone choose that identity for you and you sign up to walk that lifestyle, unfortunately, when your identity starts to come to the surface, it may show you that your alignment is not on the same track with the decisions you made. And unfortunately, a woman will find that out after she's committed herself, after she's done a long period of time in relationships, and then try to break away to go pick up the pieces and salvage who she is. And so I would like men to understand that if you're plucking this flower out of the garden and she hasn't matured and she doesn't know who she is, that type of evolution process is likely to transpire if it was never a part of her identity. It was just part of her conditioning and her teaching. You're not necessarily getting a fully willing participant, because this person never ever made their own choices. They were moving within expectation of their family, of their parents. And when they realize they can make a choice, something changes. And then divorce happens, and then custody happens, and all these things happen. So it may be healthier to make sure she knows who she is, make sure she knows what she wants. We can't have two things at the same time. You can't have a woman who lacks all this life experience and then expect her not to learn about herself along the way, versus having difficulty with a woman who has all this life experience and feeling rebelliousness coming from her because she knows exactly who she is. At least that woman that knows who she is can make a choice and stick with that choice. But a developing mind that's transitioning from being taught to think away, and as the time rolls, they're learning that they can think a different way, it's likely the choice won't be the same. So we have to be careful with that, because there's consequences to every choice. And the idea that there's one type of person that fits a longevity-based situation is inaccurate. In reality, both of these situations can end up at the end of the road falling apart, because if you don't know who you are, you will be different and do different once you figure it out.